So this is Professor Julian Henstenburg from, as we say, Director of the Nutrition Program at LaSalle, part of the School of
Nursing and Health Sciences.
Okay. So if anybody else has questions about how that fits in, and you've heard some of the things we talked about during the semester. Dr. Goldbacher was here last week. We had Dr. Allen come and talk about exploring nutrition. We had some people from Feed Philadelphia. So
Excellent.
we're trying to become experts in this area. So
Excellent.
take it
Well,
away.
this is brand new, hot off the press. So if you look up on the screen, I have something up there called Dietary Guidelines for Americans 2015. Okay? Now, sort of like, so what, right? Well, these dietary guidelines for Americans are the basis for all of our nutrition and diet recommendations for the United States. By law, they must be updated every 5 years. Okay? So, and they're on the even years. So they're easy to remember. They were updated in 2010, and by law, they're going to be put out in 2015. What happens is all of the food and nutrition scientists in the country at academic institutions all across the United States get picked to be on the Dietary Guidelines Committee. And this group of academics, researchers across the country get together and say, what is the available research that we have today that talks about how we should eat? Okay? Now usually, there's lots of controversy in these guidelines because it's long been thought that they're fairly influenced by the food industry. In the United States, they've never been too out there. They, eat more fruits and vegetables. We've been saying that forever. Moderate things that are not so good for you, like salt or saturated fat. Moderate alcohol. So these guidelines haven't been too controversial, really, because everybody thinks there's lots of influence on them. So, enter 2015. These new guidelines, if you click on the scientific report of the 2015 Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee, have created a lot of hoopla in the media. So you guys should be seeing this, or at least pay attention to it now that you hear about it. And what I want to show you is that what they have put out, a report, and we are what we call, because this is law, it goes into the Federal Register. Do you guys know what the Federal Register is? That's the place where the law goes and says, okay, we do this by law, and here's what we found. And now we give the public, anybody in the United States who wants to, time to comment on it. And so you can put written comments right into here once you read the report. Now the report's very long, so it's worth, you don't want to read the whole report, but you might want to read the executive summary, which is right here. You can see the whole report in front of you, and you can look at what the categories are that they're going to be making recommendations about. You can see they'll make recommendations about food and nutrient intakes, dietary patterns, individual diet and physical activity behavior change, food environment and settings, food sustainability and safety. That category is brand new, and it's creating some controversy. Let's see why. I'm going to just for a second download for you the executive summary right here, and it's about 9 pages. It's worth reading to see what the overall view of this is, of the current data. But I'm going to take you to page 3, which is really the controversial part. And let's see, where was that on page? Yes, here, it's actually page 4. Okay, and here's the controversy. The overall body of evidence, in these first few lines, the overall body of evidence examined the 2015 Dietary Guidelines identifies that a healthy dietary pattern is higher in vegetables, fruits, and whole grains. Okay, so what? Beyond boring, we've heard that before, right? It's low. Non-fat, It's higher in vegetables, fruits, whole grains, low or non-fat dairy. Okay. We heard that before. Seafood, legumes, we've heard that before. Beans, nuts, moderate in alcohol. All right. Those have all been in the dietary guidelines so far. What's new about this one? Health is also lower in red and processed meat. Okay, and low in sugar sweetened foods and drinks and refined grains. It's this line here that's getting all the press. Low in red and processed meat. Is meat really bad for you? If it's bad for you, why? We've always said as nutritionists that we could eat lean meat. You know, not a lot of things like bacon. That makes sense, right, with all the fat in it. But to put in a guideline that our diets now should be lower in red and processed meat is really creating a lot of controversy in the United States. You can read, I want to show you a couple of things. You can read comments. If you go back, oops, I lost it now. Right. If you go back into this, you can read public comments and see how does the public gauge this and what are they saying. And you can actually read all the public comments and you can easily submit your own comments right there. So we all get to say what we think the dietary guidelines should say, regardless of the data. You too can comment on what you think it should say that you should eat. Anybody ever thought about that? What would you like to eat? I'd like to put in there that we should have some moderate ice cream a few times a week. The dairy industry might be really happy with me about that. What would you put in? Do you want this to tell you that you should eat less red meat? Or does it not matter? You're not going to do it anyway?
Yeah.
Yeah? You're not going to do it anyway?
Yeah. Just eat it if I want it.
Just eat it if you want it. Okay? So you can submit these comments and say, you know what? It doesn't matter if you tell me to eat less, I'm going to eat what I want anyway. If you want to say that, you can say that to them, because guess what? It might save them a lot of work, right? You can also read everybody's comments, and these are just very, as journalism students, these should be very interesting for you to read, because this is the pulse of the nation. This is the pulse of what people are saying. I'm not going to show you all these comments, and actually there's even more than I looked at this afternoon, but here's one that I think is very reflective. Now, he happens to be a proud member of the U.S. meat industry, okay? And he says it straight out, I'm a member of the meat industry. My company employs more than 200,000 people in the United States. Oh, I'm sorry, worldwide, and more than 56,000 people in the United States. We produce a wide variety of quality meat and poultry products for retail sale in the U.S. and around the world. We have proudly been a part of the American agriculture system for more than 60 years, and I'm proud of the products we produce and sell. I feed my friends and family the products my company produces with confidence. I have read news reports about the recommendations made by the Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee, and I'm very concerned. Meat is part of my family's diet, and has always been, because my family knows that it helps our children grow and develop. I also know from experience that meat helps keep all of us healthy and strong throughout our lives. It seems this committee is out of touch with everyday Americans. We are capable of making choices that suit our families, and we don't want this committee interfering with what we serve our families, what our children eat in schools, or with the food that brave military men and women enjoy. Pulling out all the stops here. While I respect your important role in helping Americans identify healthy diet options, my family does not need the federal government at our dinner table promoting the agenda of elitists and activists telling us to exclude meat. Please use common sense when you decide what to do with this report, and please encourage people to keep eating meat as part of a balanced diet. This is scientist? That one might be, I don't know, it doesn't really say that, but think he's a scientist? Is he basing his opinion on science? Does not really appear that way. Yeah, well,
Yeah, I think he's basically basing his opinion off of the everyday American, or the majority of Americans who probably can't go like vegan, so like they need meat because it's more convenient.
right, but